The point I'm making is that if we can't say that anybody has done better than Nkrumah, after Nkrumah, there have been several leaders who have done longer. J.J. Rawlings ruled longer than Nkrumah. Achampong did almost about the same as Nkrumah. Others have come to do 8 years since Fourth Republic that we put together. And we can say that the Osajifo had 5 million Ghanaians to look after, and that he was able to look after the 5 million Ghanaians with resources of £600 that he inherited from the UK, and he was able to do that. Other heads of state, there's no other head of state who has received a positive bank balance for Ghana. Everybody has come in with a deficit, from Buzia to Achampong to Lehman to Rawlings to Kufuor to Mills. Everybody has come to government with a deficit. Nkrumah is the only one who came to government with £600 million of Ghana's money. That's how much he inherited. And by the time he was leaving, Ghana was in debt. So what do we do about this? It has to be a dispassionate discussion. It's not emotional about, well, we have to get emotional about it because Osajifo wrote Ghana's history. He wrote his history. Nothing against him. I'm just putting the records there. He wrote his own history, which is okay. Everybody writes. You heard them say that when the Lions, the day the Lions get their historians, and the story will change, because the story we have been hearing is the story of the hunter. And the story of the hunter is always that he killed a lion. But the Lions don't have historians, so they don't know, they don't have people who are writing their history. If the Lions were writing, they would have told us how many hunters they've eaten up, how many hunters they've defeated and collected their guns. But the Lions don't have historians. The hunter is the one who was writing. Osajifo is the one who documented most of the Ghana's history that we all know. It was written by him, no other person. He channeled it. Together with the BBC in the 50s, later in the 60s, when he went on exile, he still wrote. That's credits to him. He's a leader who was very prolific in writing, and we are missing that in this generation. We are missing leaders who are prolific with writing. So that's a good story. But he wrote the history, so he told the history himself. Now, if you look at the other parts of the history that he didn't tell us, this is one of them I'm going to share with you. This one is a book written by somebody from my former school, the School of Oriental and African Studies History Department at the University of London. And it is written by Ama Barbara Baini. Barbara Baini writes the title, Kwame Nkrumah, An Intellectual Biography. And so Barbara Baini is doing actually fidelity to most of the truth. Now, this is on page 180 of Barbara's book. It's as follows. Yet without question, quote, by 1965, Kwame Nkrumah often looked and acted like a tired man. The worries and pressures of office were taking their toll, and much of the distinctive vigor had gone out of some of his actions, claimed Bascha. Economically, the country's budget deficit had grievously expanded as the price of cocoa on the world market continued to decline. Dr. Jonathan Frimpong Ansah, the governor of the Bank of Ghana from 1965 to 1968, depicted the gravity of the economic situation. Now, viewers, hear this, and let's see it. This is what it is. By 1965, he said, it had become very desperate, and I remember we decided to write a memorandum to Nkrumah to tell him the true state of affairs of the economy. I had written that the reserves were only £500,000. He looked at me and said, you didn't check your typing. You've left a few zeros. I said, no, sir, there are no zeros left. This is £500,000. This is all we have in the banks overseas. And he sat back. And what he did then was that he went around the table and went to everyone who was seated there at the meeting and asked them. What did he ask them? Frimpong says we have £500,000. Is he right? Do you agree with him? And everyone said, yes. That was the first time the whole cabinet acknowledged to the president that Ghana was bankrupt. When Nkrumah heard this, he actually shed tears. He left us in the office in the cabinet room for half an hour. He broke down completely when he knew that Ghana was in fact poor. Nkrumah had been engaged in self-delusion as the economic realities of Ghana. This is fact. This is not fiction. This is fact. And the writer is not political. The writer is doing an intellectual biography. Okay, let's go on. Contributing to his considerable distress and sadness was the death earlier in the year of his arch-ideological opponent, Dr. J.B. Dankwa, who had died at 69 years of age in Nsawam Maximum Security Prison on 4th February 1965. So Kwame Nkrumah became Prime Minister of Ghana in 1951. And he inherited something in the region of 6 million pounds. 600 million, it is, pounds. 200 to 600 million pounds. And by 1965, that money, which was in a positive balance for Ghana, had become 500,000 pounds. £500,000 left. Osajifo didn't believe it when he was told. He said that he told the Bank of Ghana governor that you've left some zeros out. Because he said 500,000. He thought it's 5 million or something like that. So he said, oh, Charlie, you've left some zeros out. The guy said, I've not left any zeros out. This is a cabinet meeting, the highest decision-making body of Ghana. They met in the cabinet room at Jubilee House. And everybody was there, all the ministers were there. And Nkrumah went around the table and asked them that, Charlie, are you sure that what Frimpong is saying is correct? And they all said, yes, sir, it is correct. Why? Because the money had gone to Mali. So you see people have been posting posters of Nkrumah's statue in Mali, and they're excited about it. They are trying to tell people that you say Nkrumah is a nobody. Mali has put a statue there. Yes, Mali will put a statue there because he gave them money. He gave money to develop Mali, which is not that bad. He gave money to develop Guinea. These are the decisions that were made. That Afro-Bedema, the finance minister, fled the country, wrote a letter to Nkrumah and left. So I'm just saying that when we are evaluating leaders, let's just take our time and stop this emotional thing and we don't like somebody, so when he says something, we are all running on him. These are the facts. And because they don't teach history anymore, after that one, it pains me more than anything else. The day I see J.J. Rawlings, I ask him, why have you stopped? What happened? What went into the mind of the cabinet that we are stopping history? Because we don't learn history anymore, students of economics history would have learned this by now. Economic history would have taught them this. Anyway, I'm being signaled at this time. I'm sure it will be on social media and we can debate it and debate it and debate it. So that's the book is by those who like books. The book is by Amma Barbara Baini. The thesis was submitted for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy at the University of London in April 2007. This is a document that was submitted for a PhD thesis. University of London, School of Oriental and African Studies, History Department, is entitled Kwame Nkrumah, an intellectual biography. Is by Barbara Amma Baini, a Ghanaian lady, and it was submitted to the School of Oriental and African Studies for a doctoral thesis in 2007 in history. Ghana was bankrupt by 1965.